Hey guys, Weiss here. Welcome to another video. I'm at yet another arcade, Arcade 92 in Flower Mound, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This arcade is just right down the road from hiking trails at Grapevine Lake. Really awesome arcade, so let's go inside. They've got modern, they've got vintage, they've got pinball, everything you could want in an arcade, food and drinks as well. And here we go. They're open 7 days a week, which is awesome. Not always the case with these kind of stores. And right away, you are immersed in arcade greatness with these incredibly cool marquees up here, including Polybius. Let me know in the comments if you know the myth of Polybius, or at least the legend of Polybius, or however you want to say it. And we've got an entire row of Sterns here. Now, I was talking to the owner just a little bit ago, and Sterns tend to be really durable, and so he favors those for his arcade. And guys, if you aren't on the Stern leaderboards and have been playing Stern machines, you really need to get on it. It is a ton of fun. And guys, they have the new Dungeons and Dragons, the Tyrant's Eye machine. As far as I know, this is the first place in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to have Dungeons and Dragons, at least the first public location, of course. But yeah, they got some great Sterns here. The X-Men 4-player, one of the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, along with Simpsons. And yeah, it was and the Ninja Turtles, great era for beat-em-ups. And we got some tactile hockey over here. I do like when they have physical games as well. You've got a row of consoles over here, which I might get to in a little bit. Speaking of the Simpsons, another one of the greatest beat-em-ups of the 90s. Xenophobe, let me know in the comments if you remember what was different about the NES port. It was missing something, lacking a little bit. Zaxxon, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Guys, back in the early 80s when this game first came out, it was mind-blowing, the graphics. Just what a gorgeous game it was, which you wouldn't know by just the high score screen there. You have to get to the attract mode. There you go. Just breathtaking. Now, this might look simple to some of you modern gamers, but man, back in the day, this was a gorgeous game. What can I say? We liked it that way. Track and field, let me know if you ever did the trick where you used a pencil to make the runners and whatnot go faster. Defender, man, when this game came out, it had so many controls. It was so confusing to so many people. Seems simple now, but back in the day, it was a head scratcher. Still a challenging game though. You got Tron, of course. I've talked a lot about Tron. Frogger. You guys know that my brother was an absolute Frogger master back in the early... Frogger master, is that a thing? Back in the early 80s. He was awesome. Phoenix. I had Phoenix at my junior high school back when it came out in the early 80s. I loved me some Phoenix. Still to this day, one of my favorite shooters of all time. Gorf. I first played this at Trader's Village. Not Trader's Village, at, what was the name? Anyway, at a place like Kmart, Treasure City, near my house. Great shooter with 5 screens. One of them's like Galaxian, one of them's like Space Invaders, but we loved it. Play Choice 10, always good to see. And, you know, there's definitely lighting coming in here with the glare. But, you know, as soon as the sun goes down, that will be eliminated. If you guys prefer your arcades darker. The other great beat 'em up I mentioned, Turtles, awesome, and Donkey Kong. Every retro arcade needs Donkey Kong, of course. Asteroids, this was another one of the games at the junior high school, by the junior high school I went to. And man, I mastered that sucker where I could play all day on 1/4. One time I played for 4.5 hours and I had to leave because the owner of Quickway, where I played the game, kicked me out. Road Blasters, I was so glad when this finally came out for the Genesis and NES so I could save quarters. It's a great racer, you know, combat racer where you're shooting other vehicles, but man, it's a quarter muncher. Speaking of Metal Slug, holy cow, what a quarter muncher. It's pretty much impossible to beat that game without continuing a bunch of times, at least for me. Sinistar, one of the all-time greats with the great voice effects. Tetris, my daughter will be glad to know that Tetris is in here. Guys, I got addicted to the NES version of Tetris back in the day. Holy cow, what a great game. I had to quit when I started seeing buildings come down out of the sky and connect together when I was driving to downtown Fort Worth. I was like, okay, It's getting a little crazy. You guys know that's Centipede is my wife's favorite arcade game of all time. Dig Dug. When I tell people my favorite game of all time is Mr. Do, they look at me with a puzzled expression. I just say, it's similar to Dig Dug. And they say, oh yeah, I know that game. Time Pilot, greatness, one of the greatest shooters of all time. I used to play this at the mall by Pietro's Pizza. In the mall, give me a slice and go play some Time Pilot. It was by the movie theater and right by the pizza place. Really cool. Punch Out, great game, but not one of my favorites. Atari Star Wars, a lot of people love this game. John Lester, I'm talking to you. Gamester 81. Super Mario Brothers, kind of an odd marquee there. Pac-Man, Galaga, you know, some of the all-time favorites. Donkey Kong 3. A lot of people don't like this one because it strayed from the first two games, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., which were climbing games / non-platformer or non-scrolling platformers. But Donkey Kong 3 was sort of a Galaga take on the whole shooter genre. You know, not a climbing game or platform. Well, it has platforms, but it's not a platformer. It's a shooter in the mold of Galaga. Just a great game. Love it. Tempest, another great shooter. Got some Space Invaders. Always love to see Space Invaders. Today, it may not be considered the most exciting game in the world, but I still enjoy it. It's all about timing and aiming your shots. Captain America and the Avengers. Did any of you play the terrible Super Nintendo version? The Genesis port is much better. Blasteroids, love it. APB, that's just not a game you see very often. Blasteroids. As with Asteroids Deluxe, I was really excited to see this one come in because I had mastered Asteroids. I loved when Blasteroids came out. It was another challenge, similar type action, but much more complex. Spy Hunter, I just never could get great at that game, but it is a lot of fun. Love me some Q*bert. Gilbert DeLuna from my high school mastered that game and was just a genius at it. I wonder whatever happened to that guy. Let me know in the comments if you know Gilbert DeLuna on the unlikely chance. NBA Jam, voiced by Tim Kitzrow, good buddy of mine. Mortal Kombat, the owner's very favorite game, and it would make sense that he put it here at the front. Mortal Kombat 2, I love to see these in order. MK3, MK4, Sierra Caballero, are you watching? Know you love you some Mortal Kombat. Rage, excellent stuff here, guys. As in Primal Rage. Love to see, I love this game because it's dinosaurs fighting instead of just your typical combatants. Now, Tekken Tag Tournament. The Tekken games take a little more strategy than your typical fighting games. You can't just button mash typically on those. Love me some Marvel and Capcom team-ups. You guys ever play this game on the Genesis? Pretty good port. Narc. How many of you guys played the NES port of this? Pretty interesting. Pretty edgy for an NES game. Smash TV. Great game, sort of has a Robotron feel to it with a twin stick shooting action. And guys, unlike most retro arcades, they have got these massive environmental cabs, including Jurassic Park. Halo, Fireteam, Raven. And I'll interview the owner here at the end of this video, so be sure and hang on to the end. And he talks about why he has these modern games in here with the classics. Obviously to appeal to a different demographic, but he has a more specific reason. And these, you know, I prefer the classics, the older games, but I have to admit, I do love the modern racing games. They are so fun, so immersive, and you really get the sense of speed with these modern games. And you know, when you come in here and you pay, you know, 12 bucks or so, you can play all these for free. Makes it very well worth it. And especially with the modern stuff, you know, if you're going somewhere to pay $1 or $2 a piece to play, man, it adds up. So going to a free play arcade like this is just awesome. Cosmotrons, I have no idea what that is, by Arcade-aholics. Let me know in the comments if you played Cosmotrons and what it is exactly. Aliens Armageddon. Yeah, guys, this is a great arcade, whether you're young or old. And if you just want to hang out over here and watch TV or play on your phone or just hang out and have some food and drink, you got a little dining area over here. Sound Voltex Exceed Gear. Looks like a vertical, is this a vertical shooter? whatever it is, let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Dance Dance Revolution. I played this against my daughter the other day and she absolutely destroyed me, but I did have fun. I told her, are there any rock music songs on this? And she said, no. They just have dance music, which makes sense. Terminator Salvation. Great stuff, guys. And NFL Blitz, another game voiced by the great Tim Kitzrow. And here's the row of consoles referenced earlier. And they've got a bunch of Xbox systems, long row of them, as well as a bunch of Nintendo Switches. You know, if you just get tired of standing up playing arcades, or you just want to sit down and play, you know, something deeper than an arcade game, you can hang out all day if you want. One price, you get in, you can stay all day, play some Nintendo, play some Xbox, play some modern games, play some N64 classics. Cool setup. And over here, you've got the party room. The owner talks a little bit about his reasoning behind the party room in their interview that I did, so hang on for that. And yeah, he said this has been a great idea for him. He said, basically, you just, people rent out the space and the customers do all the work. They bring the stuff, they have the party, and you know, it's win-win for everybody. Guys, I have yet to play Killer Queen, but they say it's a great multiplayer game, so let me know in the comments if you played that and if you think I should try it. Over here, they've got more consoles set up. They've got sort of modern equivalents of the classics, some of the mini systems like the NES and the Genesis and Super Nintendo. Pretty awesome. So if you prefer the older games, and hey, look, if you want to play some original Atari 2600 cartridges, pretty awesome. Including the infamous but actually quite fun Pac-Man. Got some NES action over here. Another Genesis, another Super Nintendo Mini, another NES Mini. Excellent. Arcade 92 has a bigger cocktail selection and a bigger food selection than I've seen at a lot of retro arcades. They got some nice dessert selections here. They got all kinds of cocktails, including Princess Peach Tea and other video game themed cocktails. And when they get a new pinball machine in, they create a new cocktail. Right now they've got the Dungeons and Dragons, the Tyrant's Eye, tankard with cocktail for 30 bucks. Isn't that cool? What a great souvenir to come away with after playing a lot of great games. While supplies last. Guys, you've got to check out Arcade 92. In addition to all these cocktails, they've got burgers and chicken strips and pizzas and all that kind of stuff. Apparently the pizza is really popular here. All right, guys, let's get to the, what perhaps some of you have been waiting for, the interview with the owner. Let's find out some behind the scenes stuff on this arcade and some of his origins with playing games when he first started and all that good stuff. All right, guys, we're wrapping up our Arcade 92 walkthrough tour with an interview with the owner. Thanks, Michael, for your time. Oh yeah, so tell me about Arcade 92's origins. Like, you have another location, I understand?
Yeah, this is actually our second location. So our first location was in McKinney, opened that about 5 years ago, and it was met and exceeded all the dreams and.
And McKinney is a suburb of Dallas.
Yeah,
I guess.
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda.
Like, we're closer to Dallas now here in Flower Mound location too.
Right.
So McKinney is pretty far, like northeast.
So basically, we're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area,
yeah,
and you've got two locations,
yes,
one in McKinney, and then here we're at the one in
Flower Mound. Yeah. So,
Flower Mound, and you guys are near Grapevine Lake.
Yes.
Now, is that just happenstance, or did you kind of, like, what made you open in this specific location?
So yeah, I mean, I really like this area over here because the complex is called Lakeside Community, right? So we're part of the bigger kind of master built plan for commercial areas to be right on the lake. Like we can walk to the lake from where we are right now.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You can't see it from right here, but we're very close. So we're in Lakeside, which is right off of Lake Grapevine. And
yeah, there's hiking trails just down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in Flower Mound, but about 5 minutes that way is Louisville, and about 5 minutes that way is Grapevine and Grapevine Mills Mall. So we're actually, you can look out the window and see Grapevine basically. But,
so we're going to talk a little more about the arcade itself, and then at the end, I want you to tell me, if you could, your favorite game of all time,
Yeah.
and your first memories playing games.
Yeah.
So Arcade 92, this is an awesome spot. So what was your vision for this?
So my overall vision was I wanted to we're called Arcade 92 because it's a reference to the year 1992. So
Right.
I wanted to recreate the vibe that the arcades, the kind of the pop culture in the arcades from the early 90s. So,
Right.
So to that said, we are a retro arcade. More than half of the games we have in here are retro games, like obviously Defender from the 80s, Tron from the 80s. But we got 90s games in here as well. You can hear Simpson yelling over there, X-Men behind you. Lots of fighting games like Street Fighter and all the Mortal Kombats. So we wanted to be a blend of that, but also be a multi-generational gaming experience. So we have modern games here as well. All of our pinballs are modern games. A lot of the games that you see kind of at your real big, arcades that are swiping cards. I won't mention any names, but those are here as well. So, but they're all set to free play, whether it's a retro game or a modern game.
Yeah, that was a big surprise to me to see sort of the environmental cabs here, because so many retro arcades just have the older stuff and maybe a little bit towards the modern, but you have the full size, massive things that, and I'm sure, was this intended to get like more of a broad-based family or just a wider demographic of clientele?
So everything that I design, everything that goes through my mind is through the thoughts and the memories of someone who was a young adult or a kid in the early 90s.
Right.
So a lot of those people like myself have grown up and have kiddos. So I got, two kids of my own. So I wanted to create an environment that is designed for that person who was a young adult or kid in the early 90s, but acknowledging that a lot of them have families now, so I wanted to make it multi-generational, so we could have, a parent showing a kid how to play Pac-Man, while that kid also shows their parent how to play, Marvel Rivals or Fortnite or
I love that.
Or whichever. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
What have been some of the challenges in opening and maintaining the arcade?
The machines are fussy. They're always fussy. We do a ton of repairs every day, and you would think, those modern machines, you just plug them in and go. In reality, the modern machines give us more trouble than the retro machines.
And you repair the games yourself? Do you have a staff of a repair person on staff?
Yeah, I used to do a lot, but thankfully I've been able to get freed up from that.
Yeah.
We have about 3-4 people that technically will work on machines. Sometimes things get a little out of hand, and it's kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah.
So if I occasionally fix stuff, but my first year that was like tech was my main role.
Right.
Just keeping these things running. But I've been able to teach the basics to a lot of people, and they hold it together fairly well. So
I admire that, because I am not capable at all of repairing anything. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Have you had any problems with any customers or any weird situations at all arise?
We see tens of thousands of people at both locations. So
awesome.
If it comes down to it, it's less than 1%.
Excellent.
Just unreasonable people.
Right.
And I consider that a win. You're not going to get 50,000 people in a place and not get at least a couple crazies.
Well, society is like that. I mean, anytime you're with a big organization or a big group or big crowd, there's going to be a few.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just part of it. So, but I have a really great time with it.
Right.
I enjoy it. It's been, this is kind of like my retirement job. So it's like this has been a very fun project for me, and so it's great.
And your first location in McKinney opened when?
So November 29th of 2019.
Okay.
So we opened on the anniversary of Palm.
Sweet!
So
I love that.
We the same day. I wanted that for the same place here, but we missed the opening by about a week just to get our final.
Fancy 72 to 92. I love that.
Yeah.
And then you opened here when?
So it was December 4th of 2023.
Wow, opening right before Christmas. That's pretty wild.
We wanted to open the week before that, but it's building a place is quite an adventure. So.
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to your origins. Like, how did you become a gamer? Like, what were some of your first memories with playing games?
Yeah. So, really, when I was about 7 years old, I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we had just moved from Rochester, New York. My dad had to come down to Tulsa to get a new job.
Right.
So we were here. We were settling into an apartment, and it was just your regular, boring trip to the gas station one day, and he gave me some quarters, you know, because at that time you could have 50 cents. You can go buy yourself 4 candy bars, right?
Yeah.
So I went in.
What year was this?
This was so this would be 1988.
Okay.
87, 88.
Okay. Yeah.
I was born in 79. So.
Okay.
So anyway, so I go into the store to go find myself a snack, and I see at the very back of the Circle K or whatever it was.
Yeah.
What I know now is the Super Mario Brothers cabinet. So I had never seen a video game in my whole life before. So I walked over there and I popped in a quarter, and that was it.
I think you're the only person I've ever talked to whose first video game was the arcade version of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really an interesting origin.
And what's cool is I went. So you know, our apartment complex that we lived in at the time was across the street. So I would go home and get quarters out of the sofa, play real life Frogger, and run across the street to the gas station.
Right.
So my parents found out about that, and you know, they weren't happy with me at 7 years old running across Tulsa traffic.
Right.
So they got me. You know, at that time it was just after the big, you know, '83 crash.
Yeah.
So my dad had a friend who was going to throw his Atari 2600 in the trash.
Uh-huh.
So they gave me that bag with a free Atari and about 30 games in there.
Excellent.
And then because I was at the video game crash in '83, I was 4 years old, so I didn't even know what happened.
Right.
So you know, we're right in front of Defender here. I didn't know these even existed.
Yeah.
So there was Pac-Man, you know, Defender, Space Invaders, Donkey Kong, games that I didn't even know existed. So I got to relive an Atari 2600. But that was kind of my second, you know, I gave up on Super Mario Brothers real fast because I had 30 games to play on an Atari 2600.
That's so cool, yeah.
So, but yeah, that got me interested in the early 80s games because I got to relive them in that way, because I didn't get to go to the arcades. They were kind of gone by the time I
Right, I
was
hear
old enough
you.
to go to them.
Right, until the Street Fighter brought them back,
until
basically.
1992, when
Yes.
Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat brought it all back, and that's where our name comes from.
And it comes full circle, folks.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so what is your favorite game video game
Yeah.
of any kind of all time, and why?
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be the Super Mario Brothers arcade, because that has the sentimental,
Right.
you know, reasoning, you know,
Yeah.
for it, you know. So you know that's in one box.
Yeah.
But the other game that I play every chance I get, just never seems to get old, is like Mortal Kombat 3.
Oh,
Like,
wow,
Mortal
okay.
Kombat 3 was just my jam.
Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That game has just always stuck with me. It's probably one of the more influential games.
Yeah.
So
and we're
it's
talking arcade
always,
cab.
Yeah, arcade cab.
Yeah.
So it's always my go-to. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for letting me
Yeah.
tour the arcade. And guys, if you are ever in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to go to both locations of Arcade 92. It's absolutely incredible. Great mix of the old and new, great vibes, food, drinks, you name it. Thanks again, guys. All right, guys, let me know in the comments, of all the games you saw here at the arcade, which is your favorite? What is your favorite pinball machine out of Stern's offerings? And if you played the new Dungeons and Dragons game? All right, guys, in the description below, you'll find all the information for Arcade 92 and information on, you know, links to my books and all that kind of stuff. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subbing. We'll talk to you in another video.